Okay, our last planning meeting, we talked about a unit you were doing with polar animals, and we were talking about a time we could make a formative assessment through that unit. So we talked about polar animals. We said you were going to use the mitten and a hat. We made a close reading, and then we came up. We were going to use one of the writing standards for writing an opinion piece. And so
teachers, you
today,
can count your attendance now. Go ahead and do your attendance now. Thank you.
Today, we're going to actively share ideas, analyze data from our formative assessment, and collaborate on next steps to amplify best practice and increase student achievement. So the first part, we're going to say what standards were addressed. Last time we talked about it, and yesterday we were kind of having a conversation. I said this was my aha moment for when we were looking at writing together for the first time, is that we have to take this writing sample in two folds. We're going to look at the content, which just is writing the opinion. Then we can also use that same piece to look at language standards. So just right now, today, we're going to look at it as a content. So we're not even worried, we might get to the language if we have time, but just knowing, hey, we can use this for two things, a content and language. But we're not going to look at them together because that could get too many standards going at one time. So the one thing we're going to look at is our standard, and someone read out, Jesse, you have it. Will you read the opinion standard that's
Sure. It just says use a combination of drawing, dictating, and writing to compose opinion pieces in which the reader states the topic or the name of the book they are writing about and state an opinion or preference about the topic or book.
okay. Okay. So they can do the drawing, dictating, and writing. And today what we want to do is come up with what's proficient and what's not proficient with our writing samples. But first off, tell me, can someone share some ideas, and everyone, how you started this lesson, or what you did with your lesson, how you got them started with writing the opinion. How did you get them organized?
Well, besides just reading the story, we discussed what an opinion is, because a lot of our students don't even understand what a question is.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of modeling of just what an opinion is, that everybody has an opinion, that there's no right or wrong answer to it, so we had to establish that first.
And then with the story, we did the close reading that we had come up with the last time we met. So I think we all did the close reading of the mitten, not the hat, the mitten. And then in my class, we took it a step after we had done the close reading. We went to Pebble Go and did some group research on all the different animals from the story, because what we wanted them to write about is which animal was their favorite. And the book doesn't really give a lot of details specific to the animals themselves. So we went to Pebble Go and did research on each of the animals, and that way they would have a basis of why a certain animal was their favorite.
Okay, good. So, we modeled opinion pieces, and I mean, they can all share, oh, I like something and everything. So now we're going to decide, what do you consider proficient? First, we know what the standard says, that they have to draw, dictate, or write an opinion piece, write a topic or name, and state their opinion. So what do we want to say is proficient? A proficient response.
I think it needs to be a valid reason why, because we did the favorite animal, maybe not just because it's cute or because it's my favorite, just because it's my favorite. They need to have a reason why it's their favorite.
Okay. So you want to have a reason from something we've read, not just something that they pulled out of their head. So it's state valid. Okay. And they have to, of course, state what they're writing the opinion about. State the topic for sure. Okay.
And maybe give one more supporting detail, like state a valid reason.
Okay.
For the reading. Would that be just one, or are we talking about like they have to have
Well, I think if they just, to be a 3, they just have to do the standard.
Right.
So we're going above and beyond. So those are 3s too. And a lot of yours went above and beyond, but for them just to be a 3, they just have to do what the standard says. So, because we have a lot of students that do excel, our threes always seem to be really high.
Yeah.
But we have to remember, they just have to meet that standard. So all they really have to do is state their topic and write an opinion. So we probably have a lot. So right now, we're gonna look at proficient. They just have to state the topic. Now, what's non-proficient for us?
If they didn't give any reason. I mean, I think I had a child that just said, my favorite animal is the fox, and then stopped there.
Okay, so cannot state opinion.
Or maybe even can't state the topic.
Well, they say
Well,
their
they-
opinion, but they didn't give a
And
reason.
or topic, right.
Well, so
They don't have,
I was gonna say, you know, in some, well, and I say some, maybe one or two, were completely off, not even an opinion, didn't even state my favorite
Right.
animal was such and such.
right.
So to me, the lowest would be the one that didn't even grasp the,
Right, because they don't even, they just have to state my favorite animal is a fox. They don't even really have to give them a reason, because they just have to state their opinion about a topic. So if they can't do those, they can't state their opinion or name a topic, then they are our three. So that's what is,
one.
I mean,
One,
one,
yeah.
excuse me.
because I think I had one that said something about, started writing about, my sister, something, you know, my brother. So that's what I'm talking about, that somebody that's completely did not get the concept.
Okay, so right now, I think this is the easiest part, I mean, because our twos, this was our first opinion writing for this 9 weeks. So this is gonna go on, we're gonna watch them grow through these opinion pieces. So at this point right now, let's see, who are threes and our twos, and remember, they just have to state the opinion. Okay, they don't have to give us any reasons or anything, they're just stating opinion and topic. So right now, if you wanna just kinda make two piles, and the ones that went above and beyond, of course, are your threes. Yeah. That's They're fine, yeah. Yeah. And that's what, this page supported that child in the ability to write this. So the next time, you're gonna think, okay, now, what if I took this page away and write an opinion? Right, and so that's a good note to say, okay, now we support he is able to do this, but if I took that organizer away, he would be lost. Yeah.
These are so cute, some of the things I wrote. My favorite animal in the mitten was the owl because he can fly down and do what he needs to do so he can live.
That is good.
What if I like the fox because of the song that is the fox sing?
My favorite animal is, okay, because I have one that she didn't write that in a place in it, she just wrote fox. And then she said it has teeth.
So she couldn't state her,
Right.
her opinion.
She couldn't follow through the
Right.
whole process.
I had a couple like that. One's a bear, one's a fox.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
It was weird too, because they left out the mouse, but even though they say it here, but because we didn't look at it,
Yeah.
it was the,
That would definitely be it
That's
too,
right.
and then we were gonna talk about that, because ones and threes are the easiest.
Easiest, right,
You know, you
right.
can do your proficient, your non-proficient.
Yes.
It's those that are in the middle, where are they working in their
Discussion about
standard?
those,
Yeah,
right.
and we were gonna look at those. I like to just pull out, I know my non-proficient, and we've made our proficient. Now, were there, and Jessie was making a great point. She has a student that she works with in his intervention, and she said, well, you know, with this organizer, he was able to write an opinion. So this organizer supported his instruction, and he was able to write this. So the first time, hey, that's great. So instructionally, she knows, hey, what if I took the organizer away? If they're doing this in centers, or they're doing this in their writing, and they don't have my favorite animal is the, you know, you just say, okay, well, we're gonna write an opinion about your favorite book and listening center, or you're gonna write an opinion about a read aloud we just did, and they didn't have this, would he be able to do it? She was like, not at all. So yes, with support, he's able to do it, but independently,
But then after a few times
Yeah.
of doing that, she'll be able to scaffold that
Yeah.
support.
perfect.
He can't even, he's still frustrating.
Yeah.
So what did you notice first about your proficient? What are some notices you had? Let's look at a couple strengths you noticed about your proficient writers.
I think once they started and they made their first sentence, they started thinking more about the animal itself, and then thinking about the research we did on PebbleGo. And we did PebbleGo because it was just a kid-friendly research and gave like 1 or 2 sentences about the animal, and then they could, those that wanted to added more details to their opinion piece based
So
on that.
They were able to give details and reasons with
Right.
their opinion.
But I think, as she was saying, I think it's important that as teachers, like Jessie went to PebbleGo, and Luann and I think maybe Mindy did this weekly reader, that was an extension of their learning too, because it talked about the different animals from the mitten, and which ones actually hibernate and which ones don't. And so as we're asking students to do this type of work, I mean, it's important to expand their learning and go beyond just the close reading, and add some other.
So they were able to use all their learning to come up with these opinion writing, which is great. That's what we want them to do. It's perfect. So they were able to give details and reasons. Your threes were able to give. They went deeper. They just didn't write that. You know, our three can just write the opinion, but you had some that went above and beyond and gave a reason.
Which is very impressive when you're talking about 5-year-old children.
Yes.
Able to do that. I mean, really, when you sit here and look, it's very impressive. And
Okay, what did you notice? What on your non-proficient? What were some notices?
We had trouble even with our graphic organizer that we had. It's just copying from one paper to the other. We had trouble.
Because they couldn't take the graphic organizer.
Right.
So thinking about that, because her non-proficient was able to take the graphic organizer here. Why do you think,
First part.
for the first part, why do you, what did you do that you think was helpful for him to be able to take these two?
I
Take
helped
this.
him a lot with the first part, and then you can see here, when he went to copy the second sentence on his own, not so much.
So it was more
they just need
one-on,
more support.
you were one-on-one sitting there saying, my favorite animal is.
Mhm.
Did you do that with this
We
one?
talked whole group about, I took on the board and modeled
Mhm.
how I would mark off from the old paper when I tried to on the new paper, that kind of thing, and then I walked around the room as we did that. And he would mark it off on the paper, but he didn't write it.
Right, so really he was more of, when I say, are you doing all the work or is the student doing all the work? You were sitting there having to like spoon feed writing this, where you give him a little more independence. So next time you might have to really sit beside him and say, okay, my favorite animal.
And some of them, you know, on the level 1, they're having difficulty formulating their thoughts and getting it on paper, but also because they're still learning how to write their letters, how to form the graphics. They're at a totally different stage of learning
Formation.
in the writing process.
Mhm.
I had a few students that I think were in between like
Jesse's